I'd arrived in Sydney from North Queensland, and it was just difficult settling in, finding a job. But we decided that we'd go to the recruiting office, and what happened that night, they put you in tents and they had a shower and they were cleaned up and had really good meals. So the next day I decided to join the army and put my age up to 22. I didn't have to get my parents' consent. You didn't have to supply any passport or birth certificate. We landed in Busan and that was devastated. That was flattened, and I remember standing on the back of a truck and you could look over the whole of Busan city on the truck. It was just flat, and people are putting up small houses and things. So they took us up to the front. I remember when the shelling started and it got heavy, and I thought, oh, it's getting real now. And I thought, well, no one asked me to come here, I volunteered. Just do my best and see what happens. I was just a private in there, and they said, where do you want to go? And I said, I want to go to Don Company. I've got a friend there, Sid Meehan. And I got off the truck. I said, oh, what's the matter? He said he was killed 3 days ago. We all volunteers. Every one of us volunteered to go. So we weren't conscripted. We wanted to go. We wanted to go and fight. And in fact, everybody knew that Korea needed foreign troops. It was a fight to the death as far as South Korea was concerned. We knew there'd be no South Korea if we didn't win. At that time was the last 6 months of the war, and of course the talks were on, peace talks were in Panmunjom. So both the enemy, the Chinese and North Koreans, and the people in the south were all fighting for territory, because they knew at some point those peace talks must end, and that territory that you got then is probably the territory you're going to have. I was there for a few weeks. It was the battalion, 3 battalion, going back when I joined them, and some person was killed in intelligence section, and they got me and they said, yeah, we'll keep you, because I could sketch and photography and things like that, mainly with maps, air photographs, all that type of stuff. Well, war's a nasty business. You grow up fast. When they had the Battle of the Samichon, the Hook on the Samichon River, rather than hand-to-hand fighting, which happened, was in the trenches, it was the artillery that devastated the enemy. A lot of young Chinese, because we met them the day after, we went and talked to them. I got photographs there. Well, there's 2,000 died, but they were predominantly under 20. The two things that stand out to me is devastation, there was no greenery, and Seoul had been occupied a few times. Every building had shell holes, 10,000 jeeps and trucks and this and that there, all the weapons of war. And wherever you went, there were refugees. There were kids everywhere, and lots of homeless people. Initially, we were part of what they call the British Commonwealth Brigade, but then there was enough Commonwealth nations that came there, Canadians, New Zealanders, British, Australian. They made a Commonwealth Brigade, and we seemed to have more autonomy. In the unit, we had Korean soldiers who were there to be trained and also just learn military skills, all those type of things. The Korean summer is very hot, and I can remember walking on the grass. It was so hot it would crackle, but not that unpleasant. We all knew about the Korean winter. To go to bed at night, you just took off the parka, but you slept in your clothes. You took your boots off and you put your boots in bed with you, keep them warm, because otherwise they froze. And we lived on what they call sea rations, our food, but the Australian sea rations are really good, and we'd try and get to a restaurant or something. If it was one on the roadside, we'd just stop and just have some local food. That's why I remember my first kimchi was there. For me then, as a North Queenslander, it was very spicy. I had the honour of returning to Korea with the group, and the change was remarkable, and it had a really profound effect upon me. And we went on a bus just to see the countryside, and South Korea had been turned into a garden, because when I remember it, the mountains had no trees, it was just browns, and now it's just colour everywhere. Things that worry me, the climate change is going to create a series of situations, I believe, that countries that are democratic really have to work much closer together for each other's interest, and especially with South Korea. We need to be, we can look after each other a lot more, especially for that of our next generation.